Hello, welcome to our National Apprenticeship Week podcast, where we're celebrating the incredible journeys of our solicitor and business services apprentices. I'm Miri, Stickland, Head of Knowledge here at Forsters and also co-lead of the firm's Social Mobility Network. Today I'm speaking with Rose, Rhea and Faysal to hear firsthand about their experiences as apprentices and to explore how apprenticeships are opening doors to careers in the legal sector. We are speaking to you from our offices at 22 Baker Street, so you may see a few London buses going past while we're chatting. Hi everyone.
Hello.
Shall we dive straight in? And I'm just going to ask you all to tell us a bit about yourself and your role at the firm. Rose, should we start with you?
Yeah, so I'm Rose. I'm the HR assistant here at Forsters. I started here on an apprenticeship in HR where I did my CIPD, which is the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, quite a mouthful, which is basically the relevant qualification for learning and development and HR. And I've been here for just over coming up to 2 years now. And yeah.
Thank you. Faysal.
Yeah, hello. I'm Faysal. I've been working at Forsters for just under 3 months as a solicitor degree apprentice in CRE, which stands for Commercial Real Estate. One thing that I've had to notice so far in working in a law firm, lots of acronyms, that being one of them. And a bit about myself is I took a gap year, which I think has in recent times become a lot more popular, but that gap year was, let's just say, fundamental for who I've become, I'd say.
Thank you. We'll have to come back to that later, I think. Rhea, how about you?
Hi, I'm Rhea. I'm one of the solicitor apprentices that started in September. I am currently sat in the risk and compliance team, which I think is a really, really great move for Forsters to do, where all four of us get to spend 6 months with compliance. So we get to see the business service side of how the law firm works. In February, I'll be moving to residential property. Again, a bit about myself, I just finished A-levels in the summer where I took chemistry, psychology and economics. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to starting the legal team in residential property and also being in compliance right now.
Thank you. So can I ask you all what made you choose the apprenticeship route over other options, Rose?
I would say for me that I did my A-levels, so I did English literature, economics and psychology, and I think even though I did enjoy studying, I never felt like an extremely academic person, and I never felt like I had the motivation and dedication to go home and study. And I always enjoyed working. I worked part-time throughout my GCSEs and my A-levels, and I always really enjoyed it and felt I could apply myself a lot better practically. So I really wanted to get an academic qualification whilst also getting those practical skills. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, a lot of my friends who did go to university are kind of going into the graduate recruitment roles now and finding it really hard to find something because places are looking for experience whilst also it's just so competitive. So I think for me, it just felt like a natural fit going into the apprenticeship route.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a really tough graduate market at the moment. Faysal, how about you?
I think quite similar, but I think one thing I wanted to preface was university is still a very, very good option. I just didn't think it was the best option for me. And to touch back onto what Rose was saying about wanting to work and just wanting to get your foot in, I think that's something I've always been about. Like during school, sixth form and secondary, I've had jobs during my gap year. I've just worked in a practical working environment. Mm-hmm. I think going to university, whilst it definitely is a good option in terms of being able to delve deeper into specific knowledge areas, it just felt like a lot slower route. I knew I wanted to get into the law and I knew I wanted to work within that corporate space. Why would I not just take the most immediate pathway, which is the solicitor degree apprenticeship route? You know, it being 6 years and it being this longer period of time on paper, it actually isn't. If I was to have gone to university, I would have spent at least 3 to 4 years doing the actual degree and then another year also getting qualifying work experience. I just find that the apprenticeship program is all compacted together and it provides that security and stability. So ultimately, it was mainly a mixture of my personality and just it being the most efficient pathway as well, I'd say.
But I mean, 6 years is quite a big commitment, particularly when you're kind of, 18, 19. So how did you sort of know that that was going to be the right option for you?
I think with anything, you never fully know 100%. But I've always been a person where I love to do pros and cons. Like, I love making a little table, being like, this makes sense because of this. This doesn't really satisfy me. And I think I made so many pros and cons lists. Like, by the time I was applying, I already kind of knew that, no, this just makes the most sense. And I had no regrets in terms of picking it, applying. And because I had no regrets and I knew definitively, or to the best of my ability at the time, that I wanted to do it, it made applications a lot easier as well, because it just made the most sense. It just felt natural at that point that this was the right option. So I think building enough evidence for your own self as well as to why you want to do something will naturally make the commitment seem less of a commitment, but just the natural pathway, I think.
Thank you. Rhea, how about you?
I think very, very similar to Rose and Faysal. I was always more of a practical person. I didn't want to go straight into just doing academics and theory, and that's what the university route was. Echoing off what Faysal said, I think uni is a great route. I just think it wasn't the right one for me, who wanted to do both the working and the studying element together, which is what the apprenticeship provides. And like you're also saying with Faysal, like 6 years is a long, long commitment, but I think going through uni, doing the 3 years there, 1 year SQE, 2 years training contract, it kind of all adds up. And I think actually 6 years, whilst I'm here in a law firm doing real scenarios, working on real things, makes the most sense to me.
Thank you. And can I ask you, how did you find out about apprenticeships, and how did you kind of research them further after you'd initially heard about them?
Yeah, so I first heard about apprenticeships at an event mainly just for law, and I just wanted to find out more about what law was and if it was the right route for me to pursue further. And one of the talks in that event was about solicitor apprenticeships, and from that first moment I thought this is what I wanted to do. It sounded so interesting on paper, just initially as a small 15-20 minute presentation. And so at the end of the event I spoke to the person that did that solicitor apprenticeship talk and just asked some further questions. She also had some current apprentices with them, so I spoke to them, and from that day forward I was just researching a lot online and finding out as much as I can about apprenticeships. I was quite lucky in my school that we had some alumni that had gone and pursued different apprenticeships or were going to apply, so I had people that I could speak to find out more about what apprenticeships were and actually really understand if this was the route I wanted to do. And kind of similar to Faysal, making a pros and cons list after hearing from loads of different people, loads of different fields, whether it be accounting, technology, I decided that I wanted to do an apprenticeship.
I love this. We're all list makers. Rose, you a list maker as
No, I'm not a list maker. I'm the most unorganised. I feel like I'm definitely type B personality, like always, taking it, going with the flow, that sort of vibe. So I'm not a pros and cons person, but I think it was kind of hard because at school I don't think it was that spoken about apprenticeships other than within, like, I think as a generational thing, it's so widely accepted now to do apprenticeships. So I think for me, with a lot of friends applying for apprenticeships, that was what kind of got it out there for me. Whereas I think in terms of teachers and stuff, there was still a really big lack of education in what an apprenticeship is, the opportunities that can present. But I think now seeing, how far you guys are going to come, and the fact that after doing my apprenticeship for 18 months, I got put into a role here. It's been such a beneficial thing, and it's put me way further ahead than I would have been had I gone to university, had to pick out my career route, and then had to do the qualifications. So yeah, it's been good.
Thanks, Rose. Faysal, how about you? How did you find out about the apprenticeship route? And tell me some of the sort of specific resources that you use, because people will be interested in that, I'm sure.
Yeah, so a bit less glamorous than, Rhea's going to events. I found about degree apprenticeship specifically on TikTok and just other social media platforms. I found that it became an increasing point of discussion because, to touch on what you were saying, Rose, I think especially in the time we were probably applying, apprenticeships weren't really that popular. And what I mean by that more specifically is I feel like there's even now some remnants of this misconception that apprenticeships are only for one type of industry, so namely more like the trades, the more physical, which isn't nowhere near the whole case, right? Apprenticeships can be in a variety of industries. Even sitting here, you're talking about your apprenticeship working for the CIPD qualification. We're now also talking about us being solicitor apprentices. So there was a lot of variety which I found and I was introduced to from TikTok. And then when I realized, oh wait, university isn't the only route, it just naturally made me think, how can I research this a lot further? And that really stemmed my interest in really wanting to build my social media platform, mainly on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has always been quite powerful in the sense of you get access to people you otherwise would never, ever speak to. And I ended up finding out a lot more about apprenticeships through just speaking to people. And that's early careers team, that's other apprentices in a variety of different industries. So that was, I think, my first call to action. And then I continued learning about apprenticeships through searching on firm websites, finding out stuff like that when they open up assessments, all the different type of assessments, because boy, there's quite a lot of assessments that you have to do.
I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? There's not one sort of linear path. Like every firm will have a slightly different application and recruitment process.
Yeah, 100%. And it's really important that you make sure that you tailor your application, because all firms that are doing this type of apprenticeship program, they can tell when someone's copy and pasted one application, one answer, and all they've done is quite literally change the name. And that was something that a person I was spoken to had actually told me as a good way to like proof check and quality check your application. If you can take out the firm name and the application still makes sense, it's nowhere near specific enough. And I think I used that to guide me throughout my answers, and it helped. Well, yeah, because I'm here now, but yeah, it helped.
That's a really great tip. Thank you. Can I ask you all, how did your family feel about you doing an apprentice? Faysal, do you want to start?
Yeah. I think my mum and my whole family, they really wanted me to go to university, but not necessarily because it was this fixed route for them. It was just, and this is that big problem in this space nowadays, is yes, there's a generational increase in knowledge in terms of the younger people knowing it, but there's still that disconnect with the older generation and the parents who just simply out of not knowing it, you naturally fear what you don't know, right? So I think when I told my mum, oh, no, I'm not going to university, I'm going to take a gap year and apply for apprenticeships instead of doing the, I guess, safe route, naturally panic seeped in, and I'd never blamed her for that. But my mum has always been a person where if I can provide results or at least provide some type of direction, she can trust me. So I ended up having to do a sort of justification, sort of pitch deck, if you will, in terms of why I wanted to take a gap year, firstly, and then secondly, why an apprenticeship made a bit more sense for me. And after I did that, I say my whole family were like, okay, you know what, you've put in the work, you've done all of this, you've then said how you're going to go about it, made realistic, and as we've probably all come across, like smart goals, right, as to how you was going to achieve it. I think they naturally became a lot more eased, and I just communicated with them a lot. Like, it forced me to realize I don't actually like update my parents on like this type of things a lot more, so it made me do that. And once I did that, my mom was like, oh, how's this application going? And when she knew that I was consistently giving updates, she was like, oh no, he is working, he is doing this consistently even by himself, I can trust him to do whatever decision he wants to do. So I think my whole family became a lot more accepting of it.
And you gained some good PowerPoint skills.
Oh, great. Presentation skills, delivery, everything. Honestly.
Rhea, how about you?
Like I mentioned before, my school had like apprentices and alumni who had gone down through the degree apprenticeship route or looking to apply. So my school hosted a talk where a few of them came in and just spoke about their role, what their apprenticeship entailed. And it was for a talk for both students and parents, which was really encouraging because many schools only provide the resources to students and they still have to go and explain it to their parents, like how you were doing. But this was lucky where my parents could sit and listen to the talk and where they understood actually what the apprenticeship was and why it was a good route. And once they found out that this is a proper route, I'm going to get a good qualification from it, I'm going to get work experience and get my degree and my SQE, they were really, really supportive and they helped me along the entire way. So really, really grateful for that.
Thank you. And Rose?
I was quite lucky in the sense that my mum was super supportive of me choosing the apprenticeship route. I was always pretty set from quite a young age that I didn't want to go to university because I had no set direction on what I wanted to do. And I think it is really hard to get exposure to a lot of different roles. Like, I didn't know what HR was before I started looking into apprenticeships. You kind of see like the ordinary like lawyer or doctor and all these different roles that fall into those like sectors that you'd never heard of before. So luckily my mum was super supportive. Neither of my parents had been to university, which I think was a benefit for me, because I think for some people, their parents don't want them to follow in the same path. But I think for me, my parents really understood that that was kind of the fitting route for me. So I was very lucky in that sense.
And what was the application process like for you?
So the application was less rigorous compared to something for like a degree apprenticeship. I did apply to a lot of different apprenticeships, including degree ones as well. But the apprenticeship, like you said, the application sort of consisted of me uploading a cover sheet and going into detail on some specific questions about why I'm interested in the role, why I'm interested in Forsters. And then I got invited to an assessment day. So it was literally those two stages, in the sense of uploading my CV and my cover sheet and then doing the assessment day, which consisted of like speed interviews, some group activities, presenting. And it was a really nice experience as well, because not only was it them kind of testing you, but it was also me knowing that I was going to come into somewhere and have to rely on them so much to learn everything. And I think during that day, I kind of felt like Forsters was the right fit for me. Especially having done so many different assessment days and so many different applications. I think it did allow me to get a real feel for, okay, Forsters feels like the right fit for me, and I really get along with the team, and I can imagine working with these people so closely. So it was a really nice experience, the assessment day.
I'm delighted to hear you describing an assessment day as a nice experience.
It was. It is obviously like unnerving, but I think
100%.
with apprenticeships, I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I feel like I got into a point where I was kind of on like in a like a hamster in a wheel, like it was like the same thing again and again. And I think obviously the initial interviews, I mean, I do not envy the people who had to do those. I know they were probably atrocious, but I think you do like warm up, and I think there is like an understanding from everyone who, like everyone here, that, you know, you are an apprentice and you're leaving school, or you don't have experience in a corporate environment. They're not expecting you to come in and, you know, like completely have all this knowledge behind you and have all this experience behind you.
Yeah.
And I think everyone is very conscious to make it as comfortable an experience as you can.
Yeah, talk to me a bit about that then. So how did you find it adjusting to being in an office culture, if maybe it's somewhere that you hadn't?
It is hard. I think I was quite lucky in the sense that I found it quite a natural fit. I think I gravitated naturally towards people that I felt like likeness with. So for example, Ayat, who was our responsible business apprentice, she was the only other apprentice at the time, and I think I relied on her a lot. It is obviously quite a big adjustment, in the sense that it's kind of finding the balance between bringing your personality to work but also keeping it professional and having to adjust your communication style and the way you act and present yourself to a big range of people, compared to being at school where you're around everyone who's grown up in a similar way to you or the same age as you. So it is quite a big adjustment, but I think I was really lucky in the sense that, like I mentioned before, everyone understands that it is a new environment for you. So I think there is a lot of hand holding in that sense.
Were there any like specific groups or anything that you joined to kind of help you with that transition? Or?
I would say that we had the learning and development team who like directly support the apprentices when they come on, and that was really helpful in just having those little questions. As well as that, I'm also got involved in some of the diversity and inclusion networks. So I'm part of the social mobility network, and I think it's a great way to meet people and sort of just feel comfortable. I was in the office 4 days a week during my apprenticeship, and then I had my study day from home on a Friday. And I would say being in the office that much really allowed me to, you know, just go to the tea point. Everyone's so friendly here, so you can just kind of, you know, go into the lift, meet someone, have a conversation. And I think little things like that just kind of prove to you that you can bring your personality to work, and really just having those small conversations really make you feel comfortable.
Rhea, how about you? How have you kind of found the adjustment from school to being in the office?
Yeah, it didn't take actually much to adjust to, because everyone here was really, really supportive. We had lots of time with the learning and development team where they'd constantly like check in on us, ask if we were okay. We had sessions with our partners for the Solicitor Apprenticeship. We had check-ins with kind of anyone around the firm. And like Rose was mentioning, just going to the tea point, having a glass of water and just sat there talking for like 5 minutes. Everyone's really, really nice, just wants to know who you are, a bit about yourself, and not just I'm an apprentice in a legal apprentice, but more about you, your interests, your hobbies.
Thank you. Faysal, how about you? How did you find the adjustment?
I think I'm basically going to echo what Rose and Rhea have said about how it felt like we felt supported, but I think there's a deeper underlying reason as to why we all share that same sentiment. And I think it's to go back to what you said earlier, all the way from the interview stage, right? You got to see Forsters for what it truly was. And I think as an aspiring apprentice, like speaking to aspiring apprentices, it's very easy to forget that even though the firm is interviewing you, in a way you're also interviewing the firm as well. You want to make sure that you are the best fit for the firm, and the firm likewise is the best fit for you as well. And I think we all definitely share that same sentiment of, Forsters, this is somewhere you can actually see yourself staying at. And because of that, and that being proven to us, it's made the assimilation process a lot easier. So I think in terms of having to adjust, there really wasn't much I had to adjust to. I think I also made sure not to, as you said, Rose, I keep on taking everything you're saying, but leave.
So
I think we're all
just
I've really tried to make a conscious effort of not leaving my personality at home. I think once again, there's like a misconception of feeling as if you have to almost put on a corporate persona, but before you're an employee, you're human. So it makes no sense to, I guess, go into this robotic sort of sense. And I think that's what's helped me speak to such a range of different people alongside all the different networks. So similar to Rhea and Rose, I'm also a part of the Social Mobility Network. I'm also a part of the Racial Support Network as well. And that was really nice because for Black History Month, we went out to a Jamaican restaurant. The food was absolutely banging, by the way. It was actually so nice, I can't lie. And it was a great opportunity to speak once again to people from different teams, different roles that otherwise on the day-to-day like busyness of work you just probably wouldn't have had a chance to. So being able to be in that space, especially at the start of my apprenticeship, helped me just get that confidence to speak to everyone again. So I think all of that, alongside the fact that with being apprentices, we almost get like, how do I best say this, like everybody is just so eager to see you. It's almost as if like you're like the new kid that just moved in. Do you know what I mean? Like that moved into the block or a school, right? So everybody I found that was coming up to me saying, "Oh hi, like I've seen you," and that helped me because it was like they didn't need to come up to me. They didn't need to come and introduce themselves. But if people are already doing that hard sort of bit of hi, like who are you type of thing already, it takes away that that traction and that friction. So I think the assimilation process was very much guided and easy for us.
Thank you. Can I ask you all actually for your sort of top tips for anyone who's considering an apprentice? Rhea, do you want to start? Can we start with you?
Yes. My biggest top tip is probably just be yourself. If you put yourself into the application, kind of explain why the place you're applying to is the right fit for you, then you've kind of ticked the nail on the head, really. And like how Faysal was saying, if you change the name of a law firm and it still makes sense, then it's not detailed enough. And I heard that piece of advice from someone, and another piece of advice they also gave me was that if you take out the name of the law firm and by reading the application you know which law firm it's talking about, then you know it's detailed enough. That's when you know that, okay, I've kind of gone into detail about why this particular place, but also make sure to link it back to you, show your personality through. That's what they really want to see. Like, again, echoing what you were saying about you are a human being, you're not just an employee. They want to know who you are, and I think that really helped me through the application process by putting things that I enjoyed and being myself, and that's probably the biggest piece of advice I'd give.
Thank you. Faysal?
I'll say straight away, this is a bit under the being yourself, but I think what being yourself really means to me is understanding your strengths and understanding how to strengthen your strengths, but also understanding how to accommodate for your weaknesses. So I think a bigger umbrella topic with that, just be intentional with everything you say and you do. So yes, talk about your strengths and showcase your strengths, but don't limit as, I know I'm good at this, but what else about your strengths has led you to do something else? If you're going to speak about a weakness, don't just say it plainly, say that you've done something to work on it, showing not only awareness, but also that you're a person who's going to take the initiative. I think a lot of people focus on the formal assessment periods of the whole application stage, but what is also assessed is the things that's unsaid, the things that aren't necessarily explicitly said. How do you respond in this? But other things such as like your thought process. How do you come to answer a question that you don't exactly know the best answer to? All of these things kind of factor into how well you'll do in your role. So it's naturally things that they also take on board as well. And I guess my second thing would be, you can have the best CV, you can have the best grades, you can have all the work experiences, right? But if you don't showcase confidence within yourself, it's a pretty hard ask to ask anybody to be confident in you if you're not confident within yourself. And I think it's such an upsetting thing because you're doing a disservice to yourself, right? You've done great to get into the position to even be applying to any type of law firm or any type of company. Make sure you're able to speak about the things you've done, the hard work you've done confidently as well.
Thank you. Rose?
I would say just kind of embracing the apprentice title. I think that's really important, kind of, you know, understanding and not being afraid to ask questions and appreciate that I've never looked at this before. I've never even heard of what that means, especially in law firms. We were talking about acronyms before, all of these acronyms like KDLs. When I first joined, I was like, what is a KDL? Like everyone's talking about KDLs, just like small things like that. And I think once I learned to kind of embrace my apprentice title and make the most of the fact that no one's expecting me to know things, no one's expecting me to have this whole range of knowledge and experience behind me, I think that's when I started learning the most. I've always been someone who's kind of afraid to ask questions in the sense that I feel like I should know these things. So I think that was really like the ticking moment for me when I realised that this is how I'm literally going to dive in the deep end by doing that. And I think that was the most beneficial thing for me.
Thank you. Yeah. And of course, KDLs stands for
Knowledge Development Lawyer. Sorry, didn't even touch on that.
Knowledge Development Lawyers are lawyers who support the different legal practice groups doing training and precedents and know-how and supporting business development activities, just in case anybody doesn't know. I know you know. So can I ask you all now, if you had 3 words to describe your apprenticeship, what would they be? Rhea, can I start with you?
I'd say enriching, challenging in some aspects, and just joyful. Like, I really enjoy coming into the office and doing the work.
What great words, Rose. Can you top them?
I'm not sure I can, to be honest. I would say, what would I say?
Based on what you were saying and about the fact that your study dovetailed really nicely with the actual work that you were doing, I suppose, like practical. It's not the most exciting word, but
yeah, practical. I'm trying to think of a word like inquisitive, but similar along those lines.
That's a good
inquisitive
word.
Can I use that?
You can use that.
And then I need to think of a third word now. Sorry, you put me on the spot.
Let's go to Faysal and we could always come back to you.
Thank you for the time. You know, I've now got time to think. So I would say tenacity, proactivity, and progress. I think it's very easy as an apprentice to not really understand how much progress you've made. And Rose, this was actually from all the points you've said as well, made me realise that's so true. From September, October, November, December, all across, there's been so many different milestones I've unintentionally hit.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I have my 3 now.
Go on.
So practicalities, you mentioned, being inquisitive, and I think touching on what you said, reflection. I think reflection was really important because an apprenticeship, compared to I think most normal roles, it gives you the opportunity. I don't know about you guys, but within my apprenticeship, you had to look back on like your skills and behaviours a lot, which kind of really reinforced having to log what you're doing, log new tasks, log new learnings. And I think it was a great way to constantly reflect on what I was doing. Compared to most normal roles, it's kind of, you know, you end up doing things which you've never done before and kind of form your role, but kind of being forced to look back on what you've done and see how far you've come is probably the biggest thing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody for joining us for this episode to celebrate National Apprenticeship Week. We hope that everyone's stories have inspired you and highlighted the opportunities that apprenticeships create in the legal sector. And if you'd like to learn more or explore apprentice opportunities at Forsters, do visit our website or connect with our early careers team. Thanks. Bye.